All right, we are now recording. All right, welcome everybody. I'm excited to have this opportunity to share a little bit about our journey with you today in this webinar called Managing Stress and Rising Above the Chaos, right? And chaos, I think, is probably the word that we all want to use right now because we're a little scared and we're a little nervous and we're a little worried. And so we think to ourselves, maybe I'm the only one feeling this way. Well, I can assure you, as someone who has a lot of clients who have been speaking to daily over the last 3 weeks, you are not the only one feeling this way. Before we dive in too far, I want to tell you guys a little bit about my background. And so my background is, for those of you who know my background, I began my career many, many years ago, a long, long time ago. Oh, actually, before I talk about my background, I apologize. We're going to talk about the Impress Awards. Sorry about that, team. The Impress Awards today, hear me on this, is the last day to submit your Impress Award nominations. They're due at 5 p.m. and only take a few minutes to complete. Please consider nominating yourself or another deserving chapter member for these honors. You know, the Impress Awards, I went last year, was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I sat next to Andy Longo, and he got some, I forget what it is that he got. And I was amazed for this guy because he has been involved in MPI forever. And I think right now in these times, it's hard for us to even imagine we're going to have an Impress Awards. Well, guess what? We're going to have it. Life is going to go on. We are going to figure this out. So by 5 p.m. today, please go ahead and submit a nomination for these Impress Awards. Also, please join us for our free chapter coffee chat this Friday at 11 a.m. This week, we're going to be joined by Susie Townsend with Visit Indy for an update from their organization. All right, so two interesting, really important announcements before we dive in. So now that I'm officially ready, I will officially dive in. Let me tell you a little bit of background. So I, like all of you, crave certainty. I crave knowing exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, exactly what's going to happen the next day. I want to put everything into a spreadsheet, and I crave some certainty. So my background, way back, I got out of college. I worked at a big company called Arthur Andersen. Some of you have heard of before. Some of you older people like me, a big accounting firm. Then I left. I worked in a manufacturing company that I had a chance to help run. I ran a sales team at a software company. And then 18 years ago, when my wife was pregnant with our son, Ian, I decided, you know what, I'm going to start my own company. And my wife thought I was crazy, but I did it anyways. I took all of our savings and I bought this business coaching franchise out of Brisbane, Australia, which now seems absolutely ludicrous to do, but I did it, and here we are. So for 17 years, almost 18 years, I've been coaching and training executives from every industry you can imagine. A lot of you know 10 years ago or so, or maybe 12 years ago, I decided I really loved to speak. So I began to speak a lot as well. And I began to enter this meeting planning world, and that's how I've gotten to know a lot of you. What you may not know about me is that since I graduated from college, I've had let's call it my entire adult life, a challenge with anxiety, clinical challenge with anxiety and depression. Comes and goes, and I've had a bunch of episodes throughout my adult life. So what that means is that I've had to figure out how to deal with it. And so by no means am I an expert on anxiety or am I an expert on stress, but I've read every book known to man about it. I've been through more therapy than anyone. You think some of you have been through therapy. I've been through more therapy than anyone. And I think that I've got my arms wrapped around some really healthy strategies to help us feel better when we get really stressed out. In addition, in all this certainty, in the year 2017, in April of 2017, my then very healthy dad passed away from a stroke. Like that, very suddenly. Huge shock to me. Some of you probably met my dad. He used to come to MPI events all the time. He was like my sidekick, the goofy guy. 5 months later, my mother passed away from a stroke, and I cannot make that up. Both of them passed away from almost the exact same thing 5 months away. Certainty out the window. So by no means have I been the only one to suffer. By no means am I an expert on anything. But for 17 years, I've had face-to-face conversations with hundreds of executives who have told me every fear they've got. I've been through anxiety and depression my entire adult life. And 3 years ago, I very suddenly lost my parents. So uncertainty, toss it out the window. Now, that doesn't mean I like what we're going through right now. I mean, this is a crap show. This throws me, like everyone else, for this gigantic loop. It's scary, it makes me nervous, and it makes me think, holy crap, how are we going to get through this thing? So when it first hit, and I don't even know what that means when it first hit a few weeks ago, I sat down and I thought, you know what, I got to get my arms around what are the fundamental basics that I know to be true that I can work with and put my clients into some sort of a program that gets them going on a day-to-day basis, that helps them feel a little less stressed, that helps them feel a little better so that they can be as productive as humanly possible. Now, everyone's affected differently by this, but today I'm going to give you a handful of really basic strategies that I've seen work throughout my entire adult life, and I've really been able to see them work well as can be expected in the last 3 weeks. And I think that if you adopt a handful of these, you're going to feel a little bit better. But before we go too far, I want to talk a little bit about my approach. Whenever I coach and train big groups of people, there's a variety of ways to coach and train folks, okay? And one is to overwhelm them with lots and lots of information. Well, if you've been on LinkedIn for more than 3 minutes, you know that there is a webinar every 7 seconds. There are graphs and charts and white papers, and everyone is throwing up on everyone else with data. Today, my hope is not to overwhelm you with data. In fact, the entire presentation today is 11 slides. It's very, very simple, and it's designed to not teach you a bunch of new stuff. It's designed to inspire you to change a little bit of behavior. That's it. In fact, I don't necessarily care that you're a ton smarter at the end of this 30, 35 minutes. All I care about is that you feel a little better and you've grabbed a handful of things and you say to yourself, I'm going to use that and I'm going to use that. And it's going to help me get through my day. And it's going to help me be a better family member. It's going to help me be a better employee. It's going to help me just feel better about all of this crap that's going on. And that's all I want to do today. Help you get through it. But notice that my style and my approach is to keep things very, very simple. So let's talk about stress for just a second, the evolution of stress. Stress has been around forever, right? I mean, so 2,500 years ago, when stress, when we were cavemen, none of us were cavemen, but when the cavemen were running around and they get just chased by a big giant saber-toothed tiger, stress was a good thing because you had to run to stay alive. You had to fear for your life because something was chasing after you. As we've grown, that immediate threat is not here quite as much, right? None of us are running from bears or saber-toothed tigers or other animals that are terrifying us. And so right now, the stress that we feel is not come from this immediate threats. And so you could ask yourself, well, is the stress even valuable? Well, at some level it is, right? At some level, there's a good amount of stress that all of us should be feeling in order to make certain that we make good decisions, right? So right now, I think it's healthy for all of us to be nervy about collecting germs. And I think it's nervous that you can do what I do, which is to maintain the distance to the very best of your ability. You can wash your hands constantly, those types of things. I think a little bit of that stress is normal. But the problem is today we have stress over everything. So why do we have so much stress today? Well, there's a handful of reasons. And the first is that we are all trying to outdo one another. I'm trying to outdo all the other speakers out there. You're trying to outdo all the other folks in your industry out there. It's what it is that we're doing. And maybe we've always tried to outdo others, but what's interesting about right now is that we have so much information, we can so easily compare ourselves to one another that it seems like, oh my gosh, this person's doing it better than me. So I can continuously compare and recognize how I'm falling short. So it's this constant achievement goal. I mean, what's interesting right now is on Facebook. If you went on Facebook right now, please don't while I'm speaking. But if you went on a Facebook right now, some amazing family out there is putting on their own Broadway show in their basement and filming it, and they're spending 12 hours a day hugging each other and having this amazing family experience. And the rest of us are watching their Facebook posts going, holy crap, I'm just trying not to kill my family. That's number one, right? We got all this information. Number two is in the marketplace today, we're drowning in data. And all this data and all this information makes us consistently say, what if this goes wrong? What if that goes wrong? And so it continuously elevates our stress over and over and over. Now, even before this big global pandemic, stress and anxiety were going through the roof for a variety of different reasons. We are a more stressed out, worried, anxious, depressed society than we have ever been. Maybe this is a reset we need. So the first tactic we're going to talk about today, I took from something called the Serenity Prayer. Now, I've given this talk a handful of times, and people say, don't be too religious. Well, I'm not going to be too religious, but I'm going to tell you there's a prayer out there, and it goes something like this. Some of you have heard it. It goes, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. One of the most powerful ways that all of us feel stress in our day-to-day lives is when we try to manage everything. Now, for those of us who are professionals, those of us who plan big meetings, maybe some of you, those of us like me who have a lot of clients who are trying to make certain they're successful, who are trying to make certain they're growing, they're hiring good people, so on and so forth. We think, especially me, I put everything in a spreadsheet. We think we can control everything. And so you dabble a little bit of a global pandemic on us, and everything feels uncertain and it drives us crazy. So what we do is we wonder, is next week the week when we hit the peak? Am I going to lose my job? Am I going to get my job back? What's going to happen? And what it's so critical that we wrap our arms around now, people, is this. We can only manage certain amount of things that are within our control. And so I would argue we have to be diligent and disciplined to focus on the things that are within our control. Now, you already know that, okay? I'm not telling you something you don't know. You recognize that you can't control the pandemic. You can't control the president. You can't control what's going on in New York City or wherever. But what it is when you find yourself getting really uptight about things that are completely outside of your control, take a deep breath and go, okay, I can't do anything about that. And then ask yourself a very simple question. What is under my control? Well, I can be a good parent. I can be a good husband. I can exercise. I can do whatever the things I can do today that are within my control. Those things that are outside my control, I am going to do the very best I can to discipline myself to let them go. Let them go. Trust me, micromanaging everything that is outside of your control is not going to make you feel better because you cannot manage it. I got a text today, right before this, one of my buddies getting all hyped and amped up about maybe the NFL season doesn't take place. Well, who knows what's going to happen, right? But I'm not in the mode to coach this guy, nor does he want to be coached by me. But I'm thinking, dude, not in our control. What can we control? That's all we need to focus on. So let's just assume that when you begin to get stressed out today, maybe during this webinar, maybe after the webinar, look at that stress. Almost imagine that stress as wearing a t-shirt standing in front of you. Look it right in the eye and say, can I control this? If you cannot, let it go. If you can, ask yourself, what can I do about it? And then the question becomes, when can I do something about it? Now, for years, the smart psychologists who study this stuff, they recognize that the majority of our anxiety, the majority of our stress, the majority of our worry does not come from thinking about what's going on in my life right now. Hopefully no one is getting too stressed out wondering about, is CJ's webinar going to be good? Hopefully no one's getting too stressed out wondering, is CJ going to figure out a way to have the shine off of his big dome look normal in the future? Hopefully no one's getting stressed out about that. But I know what it is you are getting stressed out about. What about tomorrow? What about next week? What if this many people die? What if this doesn't go back to normal? How are my kids going to get educated? How am I going to provide for my family? What if, what if, what if? And when we play that what if game, we're typically doing it a day, a month, 2 months, a year into the future. And we think to ourselves, and I do it, we all think to ourselves, if I go into the future and I grab all that worry and anxiety and I bring it right here and I fist fight with all that worry and anxiety and I try to control it all and jam it into a box and put it into a spreadsheet, then all of it's going to disappear. It is not going to disappear. We have got to ask ourselves, when we are in times of stress and anxiety, what can I do about it today in the next 8 hours? So right now it's 1:15 or 1:20 or whatever it ends up being. Let's assume we're all working till 5 p.m. today. So you're going to have, maybe 3 hours after this webinar, and you're going to ask yourself a very simple question. What can I do in the next 3 hours? Okay. If you're in the meeting planning industry and you're planning meetings, you're probably not going to figure out a way to launch a whole bunch of new meetings in the next 3 hours. I assume no one knows exactly what's going to happen with this pandemic. And by the way, if you do, please tell us all. So you can't solve anything. But what you can do in the next 3 hours, you can be the absolute very best version of yourself. And that's it in the next 8 hours. And if 8 hours is too much, tell yourself, what am I going to do about it in the next hour? So what can I control in the next 3 hours today between 2 and 5 p.m.? That's all you have to worry about. What can you control between 2 and 5 p.m. today? That is it. What happens with the virus next week, cannot control. What happens with your career next month, cannot control. What happens with whether or not whether or not our kids go back to school this year, can't control. What happens whether or not you can make your mortgage payments in June, can't control. You can control today. Now, I'm not saying bury your head in the sand and don't plan. Plan. But fundamentally, planning is something you can control. Plan to the point where you're saying, all right, I've done all the planning I can do. I'm going to trust that tomorrow is going to take care of itself. To the very best of my ability, I'm going to trust that's the way it's going to happen. Don't sweat. Let me take that back. You can't. Let me talk a little bit about this concept of anxiety and stressful thoughts that pop into your mind. And believe me, I've read and studied this as much as anybody. We think we can build this moat around our head, right? This moat around our head that says, I'm going to keep stressful thoughts out of my head. You cannot. It's impossible. What you can do is when the stressful thought comes into your brain, you can decide, am I going to entertain that stressful thought? Am I going to invite it in and have a cup of coffee with it? Or am I going to look at it and go, ugh, there's me worrying about what might happen next month. I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to look at that thought. I'm going to kind of let it go, and I'm going to come back to the present. That's all we can do. Control what you can control within 8-hour segments. You will feel better. Next, and this one, oh my gosh, is this one so critical? Reduce information. Now, in case you don't understand the way the media industry works, I'm going to give you a quick overview of the way it works. There are a bunch of television networks and internet networks, MSNBC, Fox News, NBC, CBS, so on and so on and so on. The Atlantic, The Economist, IndyStar.com, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Washington Post. And every day they wake up and they say to themselves, the marketplace is drowning in data. The only way I'm going to get money and I can grow my business and I can keep my business afloat is to get people to pay attention to me. The only way I can get people to pay attention to me is to shock the crap out of them. So what we have right now are hundreds of news outlets all trying to out-headline somebody else. Holy crap, this could go wrong. Oh my God, that could go wrong. Holy crap, this could go wrong. You have to reduce this intake of data. You have to reduce this intake of information. Now, I'm certainly not recommending that you bury your head in the sand and don't pay attention. I mean, that's ludicrous. This is what I do. I check it in the morning. I check it once at lunch, maybe. Sometimes I don't, and I check it once at night. That's it. If you have the news on in the background of your house all day long, you are significantly increasing the amount of stress and anxiety that you feel because the people on it are paid to scare you to death. And am I saying that none of this is scary? It's terrifying, right? It's all terrifying. But if on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm a 9, good God, I don't need to be on the news all day long to go from a 9 to a 10. Check it once, twice, at most 3 times a day. And check one news source if at all possible. Don't check 27 news sources. Second thought on that revolves around this concept of something called social media. Right? I mean, I really don't think there's a need to be on Twitter ever. I kind of am on Twitter, but I don't think there is a need to be on Twitter. Facebook, so I am on Facebook. I'm not engaged in it a ton, but what I've done with Facebook, and actually all my social channels, but especially Facebook, about 2.5, 3 years ago, I made a decision that everyone who is negative in my Facebook feed, I was going to unfollow. Not unfriend them because I'm too nice to unfriend people, and I don't need all that meanness out there in the world. Just unfollow them. So if someone posts a snarky story saying that Hillary Clinton's an idiot or that Donald Trump's an idiot, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyone is mean or unkind, I unfollow them on Facebook. This is what I do. Now when you go into my Facebook feed, fundamentally, you just get happy people telling dumb jokes with memes about stupid crap, but it makes me laugh and it makes me smile. And by the way, I've unfollowed a whole bunch of my friends. Right? My little brother, whom I love desperately, he's an awesome young man. He's one of the crazy people I unfollowed because we cannot have all this negativity because fundamentally it's not adding any value. Now, again, I'm not saying bury your head in the sand and don't pay attention to anything. No, find 1 or 2 trusted news sources and look at them once or twice daily. And if someone is super negative in your Facebook feed and every day they pop up and they have 19 new stories that are absolutely terrifying the crap out of you, unfollow them. You do not need it right now. Go to coronavirus.gov, follow the rules they tell you to follow. That's all you can do. Reduce the amount of information that you're drowning in every single day. You do not need it all. Next, I've been teaching this for a long time. This concept of planning your day in advance. So what's happening to us all today is the way our lives used to run is different. I used to go to Einstein Bagels. I used to go to Einstein Bagels every single day, Monday through Friday. I did that for 25 years. That's not a mistake. That's not a misprint. That is an absolute truth. By the way, that's not healthy for a human being to go one place for 25 years. I did it because it was comfortable. I did it for a bunch of crazy reasons, none of them normal, but I did it. And then at lunch, I always eat lunch by myself. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert, and I love reading the newspaper by myself and people watching. Well, guess which things I'm not doing right now? Neither of those things. And so when our day gets a little bit thrown out of whack, we just jump into it, and we think to ourselves, "Oh, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Let me get an email. Let me check a phone call," whatever it ends up being. And especially for a lot of us, if our industries have been radically disrupted, maybe nothing is going on. And you sit there and you just look at your computer screen and think, holy moly, what am I supposed to do today? What you want to do every day is to look at the day and say, how can I become the most valuable version of my professional self and my personal self between now and the time I go to bed? That is it. So when I say plan your day, before you jump into everything, take a deep breath and go, okay, what do I want to accomplish today? My wife, who's just awesome throughout all this stuff, do not tell her that, but she's just so amazing throughout all this. She puts this little whiteboard up in our kitchen, like, this is your chore for the day, kids. I have a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old. This is the fun stuff we're going to do today. This is what we're going to have for dinner. I mean, she just kind of lays out the day so that when the kids wake up and when she wakes up, she knows this is what we're going to be doing today. And I think we should all do that. If you happen to be really busy during this time, some of us are really busy during this time, you don't want to just bounce all over the place in a state of chaos. What you want to do is to give yourself the healthiest version, deliver the healthiest version of yourself that you possibly can. And you know what that is before the day starts. You don't know what that is at 3 p.m. You know what that is at 8 a.m. And ask yourself a simple question. What is the most important personal goal I have today? What is the most important professional goal that I have today? And that's it. What's my most important personal goal? What's my most important professional goal? During the day, you do your absolute best to achieve those two goals. At the end of the day, if you have achieved those two goals, you were successful. That doesn't mean you turned your industry around. That doesn't mean you found a new job. That doesn't mean you kept the lights on in your business. All that means is that you set a goal at the beginning of the day and you achieved it by the end of the day to the absolute very best of your ability. That's our goal. And if you don't plan it on a day-to-day basis, all you're going to do is you're going to end every day going, oh, I wonder if I got anything done today. I felt stressed out. I think I sent a bunch of emails. I checked social. I wonder if I got anything done today. And you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to fundamentally not give in to the urge to just allow yourself to be bounced around by this kind of stress that keeps coming at you. Because what happens is when you feel stress and anxiety, something else that's interesting about stress and anxiety, interesting is probably not the right word, but something else that's interesting about stress and anxiety is when you feel it, your body says, this sucks, make it go away. Now, if it's before 5 p.m., I do a lot of things. After 5 p.m., I've been trying bourbon, which I'm not certain is the right solution. I'm joking and not joking. I don't drink a lot of bourbon, but I have started drinking bourbon this year. It's kind of an acquired taste. I somewhat like it. At any rate, your brain, go back to stress and anxiety, says, this sucks. I have got to figure out a way to make it go away. What can I do to get rid of this feeling? And your brain fundamentally says, I need to get control of something. I need to send an email. I need to do a task. I need to send a text, whatever it is. And so what happens is in order to reduce stress and anxiety, we keep doing all these little teeny tiny things that may or may not end up being really valuable throughout the day. But what we need to do is we need to be disciplined to say, am I getting the most important goal from the beginning of the day done? Am I getting the most important goal done? That at the beginning of the day, when I knew the day was going to go in a good way? Am I getting the most important things done? Am I planning my day? All right, next simple tactic, simple strategy is this. Keep your routine. One of my son's best little buddies, who's this amazing young kid who I absolutely love. I call him G-Money. My son tells me the other day that he has become nocturnal. And I'm like, what do you mean? He says, the dude will sleep until 3 p.m. and stay up until 3 a.m. It's probably not completely true. You know, kids are a little full of crap, but he's basically completely flip-flopped the way that he's awake and asleep. It's easy to do. You know, I used to wake up every day at 5:15 a.m. And then I would go to, guess where? Anyone? Einstein's Bakery. And I would have a cup of coffee and I would read the newspaper. Then I would just go through this ridiculously documented routine. Every day looked almost the exact same. I was the biggest nerd on the planet. Well, here we are, global pandemic. Everything goes out the window. So then I started sleeping until like 7:15. And the next thing you know, my day doesn't feel right. And that's happening to everyone because we're not seeing people as much. You can stay in your jammies. By the way, who wears jammies? Isn't that interesting, jammies? Does anyone wear jammies? I'd be interested to see if anyone wears jammies. Except Andy Longo, I don't want to know if you wear jammies. I wonder if anyone else is wearing jammies. But back to the story. We're in our jammies till noon. We don't maybe work out. Our eating is all out of whack. What I recommend that we need to do, and what smart people way smarter than me recommend that we all need to do, is to keep our routine. Keep our routine to the absolute very best of our abilities. Get up at the same time if you can. Shave, which I shaved for you all today. By the way, this is my first collared shirt in a while. So I shave for you. I wear a collared shirt for everyone here today. And once that we begin doing those very simple things, it's absolutely critical that we remember that we need to stick with that routine. If you're going to go to the gym, go to the gym. Not go to the gym, back that up. Do some exercising at some time. If you can do that exercising, eat at the same time, if at all possible. Have these face-to-face meetings at the same times, if at all possible. And most importantly, at 5 p.m. or 5:30 or whenever it is, turn your laptop off. Do your best to separate work from home. Do your best to say, all right, that's the end of the work day. Because now that we're all in our homes all the time, it feels like we can't ever get out of our work days. It feels like all of us are so in the middle of our work days that there's nothing we can do to ever stop working. So we're constantly working over and over and over again. Sorry, I'm having a problem with my computer right now, which I will figure out right. All right, so now keep that routine. Sitting with my wife the other night and we were watching television. We were watching Better Call Saul, by the way. And in watching Better Call Saul, my wife looks at me and she presses pause and she's like, what is the matter? And I'm like, what do you mean? We're watching Better Call Saul, which I love. And she's like, no, dude, you look like crap. You don't look good at all. Something's the matter. And I thought, what do you mean? She's like, you look really, really stressed out. Like the worst day ever. I took a deep breath and I'm like, ugh, that's interesting. And I said, well, what if I smiled? And she's like, I don't care, smile. So I just took this big dopey grin like that. And all of a sudden I felt a little better for just a second, right? Just for a second, I felt a little better. So what's interesting about this concept of smiling, and there's research out there and doctors who are way smarter than me who have pointed this out, is that when you smile, yes, I am putting on different glasses right now because these are better for this computer screen. I apologize. When you smile, it does something in your brain that says, wait a minute, maybe things aren't quite so bad. You put a big dopey smile on your face and you feel a little better. That's especially true if you're dealing with clients or coworkers or employees throughout the day. When they see you on the screen, they want you to smile. When my clients see me on the screen, they expect Joe Inspirational Guy to pop out at them. And so I must smile. When you see your family smile, sometimes you don't feel like smiling at all. Sometimes you feel like absolute crap. Fake the smile, because faking the smile will make you feel better. It absolutely positively does. You might say, well, dude, I don't have anything to smile about. My industry's in the toilet. I lost my job. I don't know when things are going to get better. What do I have to smile about? It doesn't matter. Fake the smile. Right? Big, dopey, goofy, fake smile. I've been fake smiling to people that I see when I'm out riding my bike. My daughter says that it's ridiculously creepy and that I could get thrown in jail. I tell her, you're crazy. Other people love it. Just big, dopey, goofy smiles. Throw it on your face. Give it a smile. I'm not saying bury your head in the sand and pretend that nothing is going wrong in your life. I'm saying just give it a smile every now and then. It absolutely, positively works. Okay. So I'm a guy who's had anxiety and depression issues throughout my entire adult life, which of course we now know. And so many years ago, I was working with a therapist, and he said to me, this guy named Dr. Greg Sipes, who's an amazing dude. He says to me, CJ, exercise is the greatest anti-anxiety medication on the planet. And so I thought, that's interesting. So again, I go and do some research and some studying, and this is all true. Don't Google it now. You can Google it later if you don't believe me. Exercise reduces the amount of stress that you feel. Exercise increases the amount of energy that you feel. Exercise increases and releases endorphins. Exercise makes you feel better. It is proven, there's not a doubt, shadow of a doubt, it makes you feel better. So when I say exercise, I don't even care what it is. Go for a walk around the neighborhood, ride your bike outside in a ridiculous outfit. Today I had my sweatpants on and my sweatpants tucked into my socks, and my daughter was terrified. But I did, because I didn't want to get caught in the chain. At any rate, do something. Get out there and get your body moving. I work across the street from a gym because I work out all the time. And I work out all the time, not to be buff. I'm not buff, for those of you who know me. I'm not buff at all, but I work out because I need my brain to be normal. And the greatest way to make my brain feel normal is to get out there and to do some exercising. If you haven't been doing it up till now, who cares? Don't worry about it. Don't cry over spilled milk. Get back to exercising, because it is just an excellent way to get your brain feeling better, to reduce some of that stress that you feel, to release some of those endorphins. It releases dopamine. Just to feel good, just get out there and do it. Even if it's walking around the neighborhood, that's all you need to do. Don't overthink it. Okay, so a decade ago or so, my clients who had been making lots and lots of money up to this point and growing their businesses, I wondered, why are they not all getting significantly greater satisfaction and joy in their day-to-day lives? I thought, I stroked this. I didn't have this cool beard then. I thought, I wonder why that is. So I'm out there studying and researching, and I'm like, well, what am I doing? Am I helping people feel any better? And I came across this book called When Good Things Happen to Good People by a guy by the name of Dr. Stephen Post. Then I began to read and research everything that he's been studying for years. And I researched a lot of other people who are talking about this concept of the power of giving generously. Now, right now, people are in need. And what happens is, when all we do is obsess and worry and stress about all the things that are going wrong in our own lives, it throws our anxiety through the roof, because we just get in this cycle of, then this could go wrong, then this could go wrong, then I'm not able to eat an Einstein's, then holy crap, I can't read my newspaper every day, I haven't been able to work out, oh my gosh, next thing you know, you're just in this little bubble of anxiety and fear because you're so worried about yourself. Take a deep breath every day and go, who could use a kind word from me? That's it. Who could use a kind word from me? Pick up the phone, call them, text them, email them. If you have the financial means right now, send someone a gift card somewhere. Make a contribution to someone who could use it. If you don't have the financial means right now, just be kind. Be outwardly kind to people. Pick up that person who maybe has a difficult situation at home with a difficult kid or whatever it ends up being, and go, listen, I am thinking about you today. I know you're going through difficult times. At the very least, someone is thinking about you. What the data says, and by the way, there's tons of data on this, is that by giving, you will feel better. It's no doubt about it. In fact, when you get stressed out the next time, I want you to stop, take a deep breath and go, okay, who do I know in this world who is going through something difficult? Not compare yours to them, but just going through something difficult. I'm going to reach out to them and tell them I'm thinking about them. That's it. I am going to figure out a way to take a meal to someone in a very safe way. That's it. If we treat each other with kindness, if we treat each other with compassion, if we're giving generously during these times, it's not only going to make the world a better place, which it is going to make you feel better. And fundamentally, let's all be a little selfish right now. We want to feel better. And what's so interesting is that we are wired to give. And when you give, you will feel better. It's an absolutely critical component of this thing. So we've talked about some very, very, very simple strategies here. None of this is rocket science. In fact, my gut says there has been a meme on every one of these strategies you have read in your social media feed today or yesterday or last week. So no one sees any of this and goes, wow, that is groundbreaking stuff, CJ. You should patent it. There's nothing patentable here at all. I'm just taking basic wisdom you already know. But what will happen is if you don't do these things, you won't get to benefit from them. Stephen Covey, the famous author, said to know and not to do is really not to know. So do these things. Pick one or two or three of them and make a practice, a disciplined habit to improve just a little bit. And before I let you go, I want to tell you this. Even though you will do some of these things, if I see you in a week, whether it's on the video camera here, or whether it's in a phone call or whatever it is, or it's outside 6 feet away, by the way, what most people tell me after they hear one of my talks is, oh, CJ, that was some really good, simple advice, but I'm not doing it. I just can't make those changes. I just don't have the discipline. I'm just not the type of person that improves. I just can't do it. I'm ashamed of myself. When that happens, which it will, I want you to remember something. Forgive yourself fast. All right? Forgive yourself as quickly as humanly possible. There is no value in you consistently beating yourself up over and over and over and over again, because it's just going to drive you nuts. What I want you to do instead is when you make a mistake and say, oh, I haven't exercised all week, crap. It's in the past, I'm going to do better next week. Oh, I've been obsessing over myself too much and I haven't been giving generously. Oh, it's in the past, I'm going to do it next week. Oh, I've been constantly worrying about things that are outside of my control. Oh, I've been constantly checking the news too much. Ugh, I've been constantly focusing on things that are going to happen in a week or 2 weeks or 3 months. I haven't been planning my day. I've been just going around chaotic. When you begin to feel guilty because you're not following these very basic rules, take a deep breath and go, oh, CJ or Andy or Kimberly or Sheila or whomever it is, I want you to take a deep breath and go, I forgive you. CJ, I forgive you that you're not doing what it is you're supposed to be doing. And I know you're going to do a little bit better tomorrow. The beating up of ourselves over and over and over again, it just makes us feel like crap. Do not do it. So I feel super grateful to be a part of your journey through this MPI situation. I should air quote that, situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know when we're going to be going back and doing meetings again. I don't know when someone's going to hire me to speak in front of an audience again. I mean, who knows when that happens? Here's one thing I do know. All of you are smart, gifted, talented people. Just because we had this global pandemic, it didn't mean that you became dumb. You're still smart, gifted, talented people. In 24-hour chunks, focused on becoming the very best version of yourself that you can, you're going to get through this. There will be times you will feel like, oh, this blows so much, am I going to get through it? The answer is yes, you will. If you just focus on those things in your control in the next 24 hours, if you focus on helping others out to the very best of your ability, we are going to figure this thing out. There's going to be some pain involved. I don't want the pain there. It's going to happen. Just recognize it's going to happen. Lean on other people who are there for you, which, by the way, this MPI community, I see you people are always leaning on one another, which is a great part of that community, and you'll figure it out. I put my email there because I want everyone on here to feel the need to reach out and ask me a question about anything. What are good books you're reading? How do you deal with this stress? I mean, you can ask me anything. Here's something I'm not sure you should ask me is how can I do a better job of parenting? Some people have asked me that, and I'm like, dude, I'm not the guy. In fact, my children, we're prepaying for psychological counseling because I'm guarantee I've screwed some crap up. But you can ask me any question at all and just, CJ, help me think this through. And there's no charge. I'm not trying to make any money right now. I am trying to make money, but not through this. I'm just trying to help us all feel a little better. So why am I doing it? What's my end game? Well, my end game is very simple. I feel better when I'm helping. I'm wired. When I give, I feel better. So in theory, I might get a pat on the back for doing these talks, but I'm doing it because it makes me feel better. I appreciate the opportunity to be with everyone here today. I appreciate the opportunity that you reached out to me, allowed me to give this presentation. You've got my email there. And now if anyone has any immediate questions, you can. Okay, now everyone is talking trash to me. Andy Longo, I should take away his ability to say something to me. Does anyone have any question? You don't need to have any questions. All right, so there's a Q&A button if anyone's got any immediate questions. All right, no immediate questions, so here's what's gonna happen. You've all got my email. You can send me any emails that you want and ask me any questions that you want, and I will get back to you very, very, very quickly. I am also going to send this entire presentation, the video and all this stuff, I'm going to give that to probably Sheila or Kimberly or someone. I don't know. I don't pay attention to all these things. I'm going to give that to someone, and then you guys have got this presentation, and it's not, dear God, I don't care what you do with it. You can send it to anyone you want. You can show it to your family, show it to your company. I don't care. It's all for you, not for me. Someone does have a question. Can you not get Einsteins to go? Very fun. See, here's the thing. I can get Einsteins to go, but the crazy part about Einsteins, all right, someone asked it. This is Josie O'Donnell. Hopefully I said your name right, Josie. I found out probably 4 years ago that my body didn't like gluten too much, so I'm not eating very much gluten. So I still go there and just drink coffee. I don't necessarily love the Einsteins any better than anything else. I just love sitting there and reading my newspaper. I know I need more therapy. I can get it to go, but I just love being there. That's what's so tricky about it. Now I sit and drink coffee by myself every morning. Probably good therapy for me. All right, team, that is it. You've all been really great. I feel so blessed to be a part of this, and I will make certain that you get the video really, really quickly. Thanks so much, people. Take care.